You are not afraid of the monster in this movie. You are afraid of your friends. Because by the time you realize who the creature is, you are already too late. In 1982, a horror film was released that was so bleak, so violent, and so psychologically terrifying that audiences rejected it. Critics destroyed it, and Hollywood buried it alive. Its creator almost died making it. The special effects team was hospitalized. This is not the story of a monster movie. This is the story of paranoia, of isolation, and a film that felt more like a psychological experiment than a production. Welcome back to Golden Flicker. Before we go any further, I want to ask you something. Do you remember the very first time you watched The Thing? Do you remember that slow, creeping dread that sat in your stomach and refused to leave? Maybe you were a kid who rented the VHS just because the cover looked cool and didn't sleep right for a week afterward. Or maybe you saw it later in life and realized you weren't just watching a horror movie, you were watching a masterclass in tension and distrust. Now tell me this, did you ever guess who the thing really was? Did you hold your breath during the blood test scene? Did your body tense up when the dog walked into that kennel? I want to hear it. Drop your story in the comments, because today we're going back. Back to the ice, back to the silence, back to Outpost 31. We have compiled 13 cursed secrets behind the production, the failure, and the resurrection of The Thing. And that number is not an accident. Zip up your parka, light your flamethrower, and trust no one. Number 13. The opening title was literal garbage. The movie begins with an iconic title sequence. The words "The Thing" seem to burn through the screen, glowing with an alien, parasitic intensity, before revealing the vast emptiness of space. To achieve that eerie, burning effect, the visual effects team used a setup that sounds more like a high school science project than a Hollywood production. They took a large fish tank and filled it with smoke. Behind the tank, they stretched a black plastic garbage bag. The title of the movie was written on the plastic. They then placed a light behind the bag and literally set a plastic on fire. As the garbage bag melted and the fire ate through the letters, the light shone through the smoke in the tank, creating that warping, burning texture. It is a testament to the era of do-it-yourself filmmaking. Sometimes, the most terrifying effect in cinema history is just a burning trash bag filmed through a fish tank. Number 12. The casting that almost wasn't. It is impossible to imagine anyone else than Kurt Russell playing R.J. MacReady. With his beard and his bottle of J&B, he is the ultimate reluctant hero. But he was not the first choice. In fact, he was arguably the safety net. Carpenter and Russell had just worked together on Escape from New York, and Carpenter was initially hesitant to cast him again so soon, fearing they would be seen as a package deal. The studio was looking at other heavy hitters of the era. Actors like Nick Nolte and Jeff Bridges were considered for the role of the helicopter pilot. They wanted a rugged everyman, but they weren't sold on Russell immediately. Even the rest of the cast was in flux. The character of Childs, played perfectly by Keith David, was almost given to another actor. Keith David only secured the role after impressing Carpenter during auditions just days before shooting began. And the character Windows? The actor Thomas G. Waits actually gave himself that name. He showed up to rehearsals wearing dark sunglasses and told everyone to call him Windows. Carpenter liked the attitude and wrote it into the movie. It's strange to think of a version of this film led by Jeff Bridges, but thankfully, the stars aligned for Russell to take the flamethrower. Number 11. The music of silence. The score for The Thing is legendary for its minimalism. That simple, driving synthesizer heartbeat is the sound of paranoia itself. It was composed by the legendary Ennio Morricone, famous for his sweeping Western scores like The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. However, the collaboration between Carpenter and Morricone was unusual. Morricone composed a lush, complex orchestral score for the film. He flew to Los Angeles and recorded hours of beautiful, terrifying music. But when Carpenter got into the editing room, he felt that the big orchestral sound was too emotional. He wanted something colder. Carpenter, who usually scores his own films, famously gave Morricone a piece of feedback that might sound insulting to a maestro. He asked for fewer notes. In the end, Carpenter didn't use most of the orchestral music Morricone wrote. He relied heavily on the simple synthesizer tracks that Morricone recorded to mimic Carpenter's own style, and Carpenter even recorded a few additional moody synth stings himself. The result is a soundtrack that feels empty, cold, and mechanical, perfect for a shape-shifting alien that mimics life without understanding it. Number 10. Freezing in the summer, sweating in the snow. The film creates an incredibly convincing atmosphere of sub-zero Antarctica. You can practically feel the frostbite on the actors' faces. But movie magic is often about deception. The production was a tale of two extremes. The exterior scenes were filmed in Stewart, British Columbia, near the Alaskan border. It was genuinely freezing. The cast and crew were enduring temperatures well below zero, and the cameras had to be kept in heated blankets so the lenses wouldn't shatter or freeze over. However, the interior scenes, the mess hall, the kennel, the corridors, were filmed on sound stages in Los Angeles. But here's the kicker. To make sure the actor's breath could be seen on camera to maintain continuity with the freezing outdoors, the Los Angeles sets were refrigerated. They blasted air conditioning until the interior sets dropped to near freezing, about 40 degrees Fahrenheit or 4 degrees Celsius. Meanwhile, outside the studio walls, it was a blazing hot Los Angeles summer with temperatures over 100 degrees. The actors would be shivering in parkas on set, step outside for a cigarette break, and be hit with a wall of desert heat. The physical toll of switching between these climates contributed to the exhausted and ragged look of the cast. Number 9. The absence of women. If you look around Outpost 31, you will notice something missing. There are no women. The only female presence in the entire film is the voice of the chess computer that MacReady destroys with whiskey, and the pre-recorded voice on a game show tape they watch. This was a deliberate choice. The 1951 version of the film, The Thing from Another World, included a romance subplot and a female character to soften the tone. Carpenter and screenwriter Bill Lancaster stripped that away entirely. They wanted to explore a pure vacuum of isolation. By having an all-male cast, they removed the possibility of traditional romantic heroism or chivalry. There is no protecting the girl trope here. It's just a group of tired, grumpy, blue-collar men who already annoy each other before the monster even shows up. This lack of gender diversity heightens the aggression and the territorial paranoia. It turns the Outpost into a pressure cooker of masculine anxiety, where vulnerability is seen as weakness, and weakness gets you killed. Number 8. The junk food special effects. We need to talk about the gore. The special effects in The Thing are widely considered the gold standard of practical horror. But if you knew what you were actually looking at, you might just get hungry. or nauseous. Rob Bottin, the genius behind the effects, used whatever materials he could find to create the textures of the alien flesh. That slime dripping off the dog creature, that's not high-tech chemical compound. It's heated food-based organic gels and thickening agents. The inside of the monsters? A mixture of strawberry jam, creamed corn, and gelatin. To create the stretching, tearing sinew and flesh, they used melted bubble gum. There is a scene where the alien is dissected, and the internal organs are actually just food products brought from a local grocery store. The realism comes from the fact that these materials are organic. They interact with light and gravity in a way that rubber doesn't. So when you are recoiling in horror at the screen, just remember, you're mostly screaming at condiments. Number 7. Killed by a friendly alien. It is hard to believe today, but when The Thing was released in 1982, it was a massive box office bomb. It was hated. Critics called it instant junk, wretched, and excessive. The director of the 1951 original publicly denounced it. Why did everyone hate a masterpiece? 2 letters. E.T. Steven Spielberg's E.T. the Extraterrestrial had been released just 2 weeks earlier. The world had fallen in love with a sweet, healing, friendly alien who just wanted to phone home. Audiences were feeling optimistic and warm. Then came John Carpenter with a movie about an alien that tears you apart from the inside, where there is no hope, no friendship, and no happy ending. The tonal whiplash was too much for 1982 audiences. They didn't want nihilism. They wanted Reese's Pieces. It took decades of home video rentals for the world to finally catch up to the film's brilliance and realize that the feel-bad movie of the year was actually the best movie of the year. Before we enter the top 6, I have a small request. If you are discovering something new today, illuminate our day by clicking like and subscribe to Golden Flicker so you never miss a story from the annals of cinema history. We're building a community of film historians here, and we want you involved. Which film should we explore next? Let us know in the comments. Number 6. The scene that wasn't in the script. One of the most terrifying sequences in the film involves the character Bennings. He is assimilated by the Thing in the storage room, but before the transformation is complete, the crew surrounds him. He lifts his hands, and they are malformed, alien tentacles dripping with slime. He opens his mouth to scream, but the sound that comes out is an inhuman, mechanical howl. This scene was not in the original script. Originally, Bennings was going to be killed off-screen. We would just find his body. However, during the editing process, the editor Todd Ramsey told Carpenter that the movie had a problem. The audience didn't understand what the Thing did. They needed to see the process of assimilation, the middle stage between human and monster, to truly fear it. Carpenter agreed. They went back and did a reshoot to add the Bennings death scene. That single decision changed the entire feel of the movie. It clarified the stakes. The Thing doesn't just eat you, it becomes you. And the process is agonizing.
Number 5. Stan Winston's secret cameo. Rob Bottin, the lead special effects designer, was a wonderkind, but even he had limits. He was tackling a workload that would crush a team of 50. At one point, the production realized they were running out of time to create the dog thing, the creature that erupts in the kennel scene. Bottin was overwhelmed with the other monsters. He reached out to a friend for help, the legendary Stan Winston. Winston is the man who would go on to create the Terminator and the Predator. Winston agreed to come in and design the puppet for the dog thing to save the production. However, Winston refused to take screen credit.
He said, "This is Rob's movie," and he didn't want to distract from Bottin's masterpiece. So one of the most iconic monsters in the film was actually designed by a ghost guest star, a titan of industry, helping out a young prodigy in secret. Number 4. The blood test trick. The blood test scene is widely cited as one of the greatest scenes in horror history. The tension is unbearable. MacReady ties everyone up and tests their blood with a hot copper wire. We know one of them is the Thing, but we don't know who. When they get to Palmer, the blood leaps out of the petri dish, screeching. The crew reacts with genuine terror, but the real magic is in the editing and the practical effects. To achieve the shot where Palmer begins to transform and his head starts to mutate, they needed a seamless transition. The most subtle trick occurs when the infected blood jumps. We are so focused on the petri dish that we don't notice the actor has been swapped or the set has changed. But the real MVP of this scene is the hand moment later, when Dr. Copper tries to revive Norris. His arms plunge into the chest cavity and the chest bites them off. For this shot, they hired a real amputee to play Dr. Copper. He wore prosthetic arms that were filled with blood bags and wax bones. When the chest, which was a mechanical puppet, bit down, it severed the fake arms, allowing the real actor to pull his stumps back. It looked so real that even the other actors on set were visibly shaken when it happened. And now, the golden flicker moment. Number 3, the Norwegian spoiler. Here is a fact that changes the entire experience of rewatching the movie. The film opens with a Norwegian helicopter chasing a husky across the Antarctic ice. The passenger is frantically shooting at the dog and screaming in Norwegian. To an English-speaking audience, he just sounds like a crazed lunatic trying to kill an innocent animal. MacReady and the Americans shoot him in self-defense, thinking he is insane. But if you speak Norwegian, the movie is spoiled in the first 2 minutes. The man is not shouting gibberish, he's shouting a clear warning. He's yelling, "Get the hell away! It's not a dog, it's some sort of thing. It's imitating a dog, it isn't real. Get away, idiots!" The director, John Carpenter, put the entire plot twist in the opening dialogue, hiding it in plain sight behind a language barrier. The villain at the start was actually a hero, trying to save the world. But because of the language gap, the Americans ignored him and invited the apocalypse inside. It is a brilliant detail that underscores the theme of communication breakdown. Do you agree that this is the golden flicker moment?
Number 2. The creator almost died for the art. We mentioned Rob Bottin, the special effects wizard, earlier. But it is important to understand the physical price he paid for this movie. Bottin was only 22 years old when he took charge of the Thing. He was determined to prove himself, and he pushed his body beyond the breaking point. He worked on the film for over a year, often 7 days a week, sleeping in the laboratories at Universal Studios to be close to the molds. He lived on candy bars and vending machine cola. The stress and the chemical fumes from the latex and foam took a toll. By the time the film wrapped, Bottin didn't just go home to sleep, he was hospitalized. He was diagnosed with extreme exhaustion, double pneumonia, and bleeding ulcers. He literally gave his blood and health to create monsters that would outlive him. When you see the twisted flesh of the Thing, you are looking at the product of a man who nearly worked himself to death. Number 1. The Eye Gleam Theory.
We reach the end. The fires of Outpost 31 are dying down. MacReady and Childs are the only ones left. They sit in the snow, sharing a bottle of whiskey, waiting to freeze to death. The ultimate question remains, is one of them the thing? For decades, fans have debated this, but the director of photography, Dean Cundey, may have given us the answer. Cundey revealed that throughout the filming, he used a specific lighting technique for the human characters. He used small eye lights to create a tiny reflective gleam in the pupils of the actors. This spark of life was meant to subtly indicate humanity. The thing, being an imitation, often had dead, matte eyes in specific shots. Fans have analyzed the final scene frame by frame. When you look at MacReady, the light catches his eyes. He has the gleam. But when you look at Childs, his eyes are dark, hollow, devoid of that spark. Does this confirm Childs is the thing? Or was it just a trick of the lighting in a blizzard? Carpenter has never confirmed it. He wants you to sit there in the cold, paranoid and unsure, just like MacReady. And that is the true genius of the thing. It doesn't end with a victory. It ends with a question mark. So the next time you watch the final scene, lean in close to your screen. Look at Child's eyes. Tell me what you see. Is there a light on inside, or is there nobody home? If you enjoyed this deep dive into the frozen abyss, please leave a like and subscribe to Golden Flicker. We have many more reels of history to unspool. Until next time, keep watching the skies and watch your friends.